A man in his 20s is dead and two others are in hospital after a late-night triple shooting in North York. Police now on the hunt for 3 male suspects. Good evening. The shots rang out just after 11 p.m. outside a townhome complex near Jane and Shepherd. Police believe the shooting to be targeted.
Officers say the suspects fled the scene in a stolen black Honda Civic that was later found abandoned in Brampton after being set on fire. CTV's John Musselman joins us now with the latest on the investigation. John?
Well, a devastating situation here, Sean. Last night, I did speak to neighbors who described what they saw in the front yard. It appears 3 men were on that front yard of that townhouse when they were seemingly ambushed by 3 gunmen. 1 man now is dead. Neighbors say they heard at least 6 shots ring out, maybe more. 3 young men were hit. 2 of them, both in their 20s, survived with serious injuries. 1 man, a 22-year-old identified as Abdahameen Aden, was pronounced dead at the scene. This neighbor, who did not want to show her face on camera for safety reasons, says she ran out to help.
I heard, "Can somebody help me, please? Can somebody help me?" And then after I'm a nurse, so I deal with trauma, so I know what to do. So I told my daughter I want to go outside. She's like, "Mom, I'm scared." I'm like, "Okay, but I'm okay." I'm like, at least I could try to save one person or whoever I have to save outside.
The shooting happened just after 11 on Friday night. A neighbor tells CTV News her nephew was shot in the foot. They had just returned from a basketball game when the gunman ambushed them. Police say 3 men dressed in dark clothing and wearing masks fled the scene. They were driving a stolen black Honda Civic. That vehicle was later located in Brampton. Neighbors say the victim who died lived in a townhouse unit with his mother. Today, detectives with the homicide squad provided an update at the scene.
I want to say that it's very early in our investigation, but it does appear that this shooting was targeted. And currently, the motive is under investigation.
Neighbors say the gun violence is unsettling.
Feel bad, but we can do nothing.
Absolutely. I totally understand how scary this must be for the residents of this neighborhood. The only way we can continue to, put a mark in the violence of the city is to continue to solve these homicides.
Police are canvassing for any witnesses and security video in connection with this case. And police say if you do know anything or if you saw something that looked unusual or you have any information about a vehicle or a license plate or even the suspect before they got to the scene, you're asked to call Toronto Police Homicide Squad or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live at the scene, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
John, please say a deadly crash in Scarborough yesterday that left 2 pedestrians dead involved a driver running a red light. The collision happened shortly before 2 in the afternoon at Birchmount and Lawrence. 2 vehicles were involved, and one of the vehicles mounted the sidewalk, striking the 2 pedestrians. A man and a woman in their 60s were pronounced dead at the scene.
Don't know them personally, know them in passing, and they seemed very nice. They were always together. I don't want to go into descriptions or anything, I don't know if they're family, but my interaction with them, they were lovely, very kind. They're always together in the laundry room, like you always see them going for evening walks, things like that.
The drivers and occupants of the vehicles were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. There's no word on charges, but the investigation is ongoing.
And in Mississauga, a pedestrian was seriously injured after being struck by a vehicle last night. It happened at Lakeshore in here, Ontario, around 9:30. Police say the pedestrian was hit crossing the road, and they were taken to hospital in serious but stable condition. The driver involved remained on scene. The UK man who killed Owen Sound restaurant owner Sharif Rahman over an unpaid dinner bill has now been sentenced. CTV's Mike Arcelides reports on the tragic case that led police on an international search to bring those responsible to justice.
26-year-old Robert Evans Jr. has been sentenced to another 7 months behind bars after an Owen Sound judge accepted a 42-month plea deal from the Crown and defense.
This case here is just an absolute tragedy, and it shows you how something small can turn into something just awful. And my heart goes out for the community in Owen Sound, and especially to his widow.
Evans Jr., his father Robert Sr., and Uncle Barry Evans pleaded guilty last month. Evans Jr. was convicted of manslaughter for the single punch that killed 44-year-old Sharif Rahman, whose head hit the sidewalk, resulting in a skull fracture and brain bleed. Rahman died a week later in a London hospital, leaving behind his wife and young daughter. Rahman was hit after trying to stop Evans Jr. and his group from running off without paying a $100 dinner bill at his downtown restaurant. The court heard Rahman pushed Evans Jr. twice and held on to him, demanding he pay the bill. Evans Jr. responded by punching Rahman, knocking him to the ground. This was truly a one-punch case of manslaughter, the Crown told the court last month when describing how the plea deal came together. Evans Sr. and Barry Evans admitted to helping Evans Jr. escape Owen Sound and fly back to the UK the next day. The court heard Barry Evans drove his nephew away from the scene in an SUV before erasing any trace they'd been staying in town. Evans Sr. admitted to buying his son's plane ticket before returning home days later. Evans Sr. and Uncle Barry were sentenced to time served after spending 2 years in custody, then being deported. They had been identified and tracked down by police a year later in the UK with help from Interpol. The men had been in Canada for a few months as part of a group from the UK paving driveways for cash. The men apologized to the court and Rahman's family for their actions. Evans Jr. told the court he didn't mean for Rahman to die, saying he was sickened by the damage he caused when he assaulted Rahman and killed him. Justice Christopher Chorney called Evans Jr.'s actions when he fled the scene and returned home aggravating. The judge calling the community's support of Rahman's family outstanding. Evans Jr. is scheduled to be released from jail and deported back to the UK in February to be reunited with his family. Mike Arsledy, CTV News, Owen Sound.
Well, more news in a moment, but first, here is a live look at the city this hour. Another hot and humid day in the city of Toronto. Let's take a look at the satellite radar. Not much to show you here. Not a lot of activity, mainly clear skies right across southwestern Ontario. Wind speeds, yeah, we've been talking about them throughout the day. 19 kilometers per hour in the city right now. Lighter in both Muskoka and Peterborough, just at 6 kilometers per hour. Temperatures, 25 degrees in Hamilton, still feeling like 30. Yeah, there is still the humidex in London, feeling like 32, same as in Windsor. At the islands right now, 25 degrees, plenty of sunshine. Pearson Airport, feeling like 31. Our overnight low, right where we should be, 17 degrees. That is normal for this time of year. We'll have your full 7-day forecast coming up. But for now, Sean, over to you.
Thanks, Raheem. Well, if you're relying on GO Transit to get from your evening plans, you'll want to check your schedule before heading to the station. Metrolink says several train trips have been canceled throughout the day on the Lakeshore East and West lines, as well as the Barrie line and the Stouffville line. The reason cited was crew constraints, although the transit agency didn't say what might have caused those. Replacement buses are running, with transit officials advising riders to take the TTC instead if they're within the service area.
Speaking of transit, the province says construction on the Eglinton Crosstown West extension has reached a new milestone. Major excavation is now underway on 4 of the 7 stations set to be added to the western portion of the line. Officials also shared renderings of the future stops at Martin Grove, Royal York, Islington and Kipling. When completed, the next phase of the project will stretch another 9 kilometers further west from Mount Dennis to Renforth Drive in Mississauga. A city councillor is calling for more action to address bad landlords. Josh Matlow is tabling a motion at the Planning and Housing Committee next week. It would expand the powers of bylaw officers who inspect rental buildings, allowing them to identify fraud and violations of the Landlord-Tenant Act and give evidence to police. Matlow says crimes against tenants, such as fraudulent rent evictions, are financially devastating and should be treated like any other crime.
It's about assisting law enforcement to ensure that when fraudulent criminal behavior is taking place and when tenants are fraudulently really removed from their homes due to, fake landlord-owned use or rent evictions, that there are both consequences for that landlord who has broken the law, but also protections for the tenants.
We have reached out to the Landlord and Tenant Board for comment on Councillor Matlow's motion.
After wrapping up a week of international travel, Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Alberta for the Calgary Stampede. Carney's also scheduled to meet with First Nations representatives this afternoon before heading to the event. The meeting comes after Ottawa and the Alberta government unveiled new details about a pipeline to the West Coast. The PMO says There will be meaningful equity stake reserved for Indigenous peoples, and consultations with Indigenous representatives would begin immediately. Well, the latest Nanos polling shows the federal Liberals holding on to their lead, even as the Conservatives and the NDP see an increase in ballot support. The rolling poll of more than 1,000 Canadians saw the governing Liberals with 41.4%, down about a percentage point. The Conservatives climbed back above 30% to 32.1%, while the NDP rose to 15.1%. The findings are considered accurate within 3.1 percentage points, 19 times out of 20.
The scenario for the Conservatives that they need in order to be more competitive is for the New Democrats to do better. 15 is getting back into traditional territory for the NDP, but it's still a far cry from where they were under leaders like Tom Mulcair and Jack Layton when they were in the mid-20s. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Conservative numbers and what happens with the NDP numbers, but still, the Liberals have about a 9-point advantage over the Conservatives today.
When it comes to Canadians' preferred choice for Prime Minister, the gap is much wider. More than half of respondents chose the incumbent Mark Carney, while 23.7% support Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. New NDP leader Avi Lewis slipped to 5.7% support.
Speaking of Lewis, there are at least 7 federal by-elections coming up in the next few months, but the new NDP leader will not be looking to run in any of those races to try and claim a seat in the House of Commons. A party spokesperson says Lewis instead plans to spend his time focused on rebuilding the party.
He's not in an ideal context. He's in a context where he's rebuilding. He has got to be, he can't be pinned down, I think, to one riding for, the remainder of this summer. He has a job that is in, all of the ridings, or a lot of them, during the summer to rebuild the NDP.
An NDP spokesperson said that work will include meeting with and listening to Canadians, raising money, identifying candidates and organizers, and preparing the party's ground game for the next election after they were reduced to single digits in the House of Commons the last time around.
Turning now to details on the wildfires burning in British Columbia. The BC Wildfire Service has released this new footage showing some of the destruction the Brunswick Complex fires have caused near the community of Boston Bar. But there is some good news. Officials say a decrease in wind and in temperature has lessened the fire behavior and allowed crews to gain some ground. Firefighters have been able to stop flames threatening some homes, before the fire reached their doorstep. This comes as Manitoba commits financial support to help residents there recover from recent flooding.
$500 is going to start rolling out to these 1,800 Manitobans. So long as you've started the application process, that will help to ease some of the financial burden that we've been hearing about from a lot of people.
Manitoba's government has also launched a fundraiser with the Red Cross where people can donate to those who are impacted. The province will match donations up to $15 million. Currently, dozens of communities in western Manitoba are recovering from widespread flooding. The impacts included significant damage to one of the city's health center, forcing it to shut for several months.
A new opening date has been set for the Gordie Howe International Bridge connecting Windsor and Detroit.
The major crossing had found itself at the center of political and trade tensions between Canada and the United States. CTV's Jeremy Charon reports on what's expected to happen now.
After weeks of delays and political pushback from U.S. President Donald Trump, the Gordie Howe International Bridge will open July 27th.
It would be good for everybody.
The new major crossing connecting Windsor and Detroit expected to significantly ease congestion at the nearby Ambassador Bridge and help boost cross-border trade.
Business doesn't like uncertainty. The Gordie Howe Bridge brings more certainty to the Canada-U.S. supply chain.
But its opening comes with a cost. A senior government source tells CTV News Canada will now get 50% of the bridge's toll profits for the first 15 years. The other half will go into an economic development fund.
What precisely will be divided? Is it the gross toll revenue? Is it the operating profit? Is it net profit after expenses?
The concessions that we've made to open this bridge that we paid for will make no difference to dealing with Trump.
Canada was originally set to collect 100% of toll profits until it recouped the $6.4 billion cost of construction, which the country fronted. According to senior government sources, the new deal will also give the U.S. some say on future toll prices.
Reaching a deal with the United States under this administration isn't worth the paper it's printed on. We had a deal about this bridge.
In a Friday night social media post, Trump took credit for the deal, a much better deal for America, he says, adding the original agreement was unacceptable, and he hopes both sides can have many years of success with this wonderful new development. Prime Minister Mark Carney was asked about the bridge just days ago.
Are you willing to renegotiate the current agreement to make sure the bridge opens?
I think we're willing to clarify aspects of the current arrangements.
But aspects of this deal still need to be clarified, like what happens after 15 years and who controls the money in the Economic Development Fund. The bridge's opening is highly anticipated and has clear economic benefits, but it hasn't come without political or economic costs. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
With U.S. President Donald Trump declaring the ceasefire with Iran over, the two sides have been exchanging strikes while not fully abandoning efforts to halt the war.
At the same time, a new threat attributed to Iran's supreme leader suggests there's no love lost between the two countries. In a message released by state TV, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei says avenging the death of his father, quote, must certainly take place. Tens of thousands of people turned out for the funeral of Ali Khamenei, but Mojtaba himself has not been seen since his father's death, the first day of the U.S.-Israeli strikes that kicked off when the war back in February. Many Iranians at the funeral explicitly called for the death of U.S. President Donald Trump, and Israel reportedly shared intelligence with the U.S. that Tehran had recently devised a new plan to act on that threat. Trump wrote in part on Truth Social overnight, 1,000 missiles are locked and loaded and aimed at the Islamic Republic of Iran, with thousands more to immediately follow. Should the Iranian government act on its threat to assassinate or attempt to assassinate the sitting president of the United States of America, the U.S. military is ready, willing, and able to completely decimate and destroy all areas of Iran.
I don't know if this is just aspirational or if there are well-developed plans. One necessarily doesn't give full credence to what Israel is telling the United States at the moment, as Israel is trying to force the U.S. to re-engage militarily with Iran. But given that Iran has lost over 50 of its topmost military and civilian leaders, to include the supreme leader, from assassination, I think it's understandable that Iran at least is making noises about retribution.
Iran's foreign minister and his Omani counterpart today discussed arrangements for the safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Disagreements over the key shipping route have been a major sticking point in talks as both sides accuse the other of violating their deal. Both CBS and BBC News reported the top U.S. officials were expected to talk with Iranian leaders today. An Iranian news agency later said no talks would take place.
Meanwhile, several New York Times journalists have received subpoenas from the Trump administration following their report on security concerns surrounding the new Air Force One plane. The subpoenas seek to force the reporters to testify before a federal grand jury on Wednesday. Trump flew in the new Air Force One to this week's NATO summit in Turkey, but he departed to England on one of the older models. The switch sparked speculation that the Qatari gifted jet lacked certain sophisticated security and countermeasure systems like anti-missile capabilities. According to the New York Times sources, the Secret Service urged the switch. Trump denied the security concerns and says that the jet made the stop in England so military service members could see it.
Ukrainian officials say at least 5 people are dead and dozens more hurt after a Russian attack on the northeastern Sumy region. Military officials said 2 guided aerial bombs hit a crowded area where civilians were present, while another strike targeted infrastructure in the area. This follows a night which saw more than 120 Russian drones launched and at least 12 missiles, according to Ukraine's president. U.S. President Donald Trump recently said Washington will authorize licensed production of Patriot air defense missiles for Ukraine.
As Europe bakes under another intense heat wave, people forced to flee a deadly wildfire in Spain are awaiting word on when or if they can return home.
Yeah, well, you don't know whether you've lost everything, but the point is I haven't lost my life, not like people have.
Hundreds of firefighters struggled today to contain one particular fire of concern in the country's south. It's already burned some 66 square kilometers of forest and farmland, but at the same time, at least 12 people are confirmed dead. Officials say most of the victims are believed to be foreign nationals who ignored shelter-in-place orders as the fire burned.
If you have travel plans for this weekend, you're likely paying close attention to gas prices, which surged on Friday in many parts of the country.
But a drop in prices is set to in the forecast despite renewed hostilities between the United States and Iran. CTV's Jean Ventavalley-Rowe has the latest.
North of Toronto, motorists headed for cottage country were frustrated the price to fill up has once again gone up.
Of course, it's not good. What can we do? There's nothing we can control, right?
Overnight, gas surging about 5 cents a liter.
It's very expensive, but I know that there's issues right now in the world.
For Brian Comart, it's making it more costly to haul his trailer from Chatham, Ontario to Algonquin Park.
I bet you the whole trip's going to be $400 of gas. Easy.
Across the country, prices were up, back to nearly $2 in Vancouver for regular unleaded, while the national average is around $1.72. And if you thought the resumption of hostilities between the U.S. and Iran this week will push prices up further, forecaster Dan McTagg says they're actually headed down this weekend.
It's dropping 2 cents a liter on Saturday and likely 3 or 4 cents a liter on Sunday. That's counterintuitive to economic fundamentals. A shortage and high demand means prices go up, not down.
In fact, the price for oil hasn't jumped as much as one might have expected. West Texas Intermediate crude started the week at $69 U.S. a barrel and did surge to $76 after the U.S. president declared the ceasefire was over, but it's since fallen to around $71. Experts say the market so far has essentially learned to shrug off the conflict.
I think the new normal is that we're going to see skirmishes from time to time between Iran and the U.S., interspersed with periods of relative calm, allowing tankers to enter the Persian Gulf, load crude oil, and then depart.
But McTagg thinks prices could jump by the end of the month as the U.S. continues to draw down on its strategic reserve of oil.
We might be getting temporarily a reprieve in the short term, but the long term will be higher prices for an extended period of time.
And there is one more wild card, the hurricane season. Experts say if a major storm were to hit U.S. refineries on the Gulf Coast, that would put further price pressure at the pumps here. John Ventavalley-Rowe, CTV News, Toronto.
The Toronto Zoo is welcoming a new feathered friend to its outreach and discovery team. This is Dakota, a juvenile male bald eagle estimated to be just over a year old. The zoo says he was first encountered by employees last September at a mine in northeastern Ontario. A Sudbury Wildlife Centre in Sudbury determined he was too habituated to humans to release. Instead, he'll now have a home at the Toronto Zoo, serving as an ambassador for wild eagles. And a reminder of the importance of not feeding wildlife, even with the best of intentions.
And take a look at this. The Huntsville OPP shared this image of a baby beaver they located during a traffic stop. Police say they stopped an alleged stunt driver on Highway 60 last weekend and found the baby beaver en route to a local wildlife sanctuary. They say they helped ensure that the animal reached its destination.
After the break, why there's been a surge in ticks in southwestern Ontario this summer and what you can do to protect yourself when venturing outdoors. We have the latest advice from health officials when we come back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Welcome back. The event calendar is full for this summer weekend in the city, including one festival that's sure to get you dancing. Salsa on St. Clair is back for a 22nd year. The annual celebration of Latin culture, food, and music is taking place on St. Clair between Winona Drive and Christie Street. It runs until 9:30 tonight, and then again tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. And there's music, we promise.
That was amazing as well. You know, we're trying to grow the salsa experience to different parts of the country. Blue Mountain was such a success. St. Clair is going to be such a success as we know. You know, this year we're also inviting Juno-nominated Andy Rubal, which is the first Latin category in its history. So every year we're expanding, we're growing, we're getting better artists, bigger events, and this year is no different.
And the 24th Annual Festival of South Asia is being held in the Gerard India Bazaar this weekend. The event features entertainment along with food, drinks, and shopping. The festival runs today and Sunday. Gerard Street is closed between Coxwell and Glenside Avenues for the event.
And the Toronto Outdoor Art Fair is taking over Nathan Phillips Square this weekend. The free event features more than 400 Canadian artists working across painting, sculpture, ceramics, jewelry, and more. It's expected to welcome 170,000 visitors. The event runs until 7 today and 10 to 5 on Sunday.
The Toronto Caribbean Carnival Grand Parade is still a couple weeks away, but this weekend the search is on for the Junior King and Queen.
So tell everybody. Let's get it started.
Yeah, it's always a fun event. The Junior King and Queen Showcase is underway at Scarborough Town Centre today. Toronto Carnival General Manager Adrian Charles joined us yesterday to talk about the competition that puts a spotlight on the next generation of revelers.
The carnival is a family, even in the senior program, but especially for the junior. Most of the cost is borne by the parents. And a lot of parents build their own costumes inside of the mass camp. And when you go into a mass camp, parents are a significant part of the ecosystem of our mass camp. So parents, kudos to you.
The Junior Carnival Parade is Saturday, July 18th at Nielsen Park, and the Grand Parade at Exhibition Place and on Lakeshore Boulevard is set for August 1st.
Chariot Fest kicked off today with its signature Ratha Yatra procession. A parade traveled down Yonge Street to Queens Quay as participants danced, sang, and played drums. From there, the celebrations moved to Center Island for the rest of the weekend. Chariot Fest will feature traditional Indian music and dance, yoga sessions, artisans, cooking demonstrations, workshops, and a free vegetarian feast. The event is designed to introduce visitors to Indian spiritual traditions and culture.
I mean, no shortage of things to do. What are you doing at home? Other than watching us, of course.
Yeah, you got to watch us, then you can go out.
That's it. Let's talk about the weather because it has been spectacular if you enjoy the heat. Temperatures right now, we are sitting at 26 degrees in the city of Toronto. A little bit of humidity right now, still feeling like 31. Sault Ste. Marie feeling like 33. Here's your evening patio forecast, or maybe you're heading out to go check out some of those events. 23 degrees by 9 p.m. and a little bit of cloud cover, but not much, and also a bit of humidex, feeling like 25 by 9 p.m. and a very light wind. Tonight's lows, I mentioned this earlier, we're right on par with where we should be, and just about everyone is around there. Owen Sound slightly below normal for this time of year, but still comfortable. As we wake up tomorrow, lots more sunshine for us. By 9 a.m., 22 degrees already and plenty of sunshine. Our high all the way up to 29 degrees. 29 degrees is our daytime high tomorrow, feeling like 32. Just for some context, normal for this time of year is 27, so slightly above normal for this time of year. Let's take a look at the upper air pattern for the next few days. And as we always talk about, when it's deep red, that's when we're getting into those very hot temperatures. You can see where we are right now. Not too bad, but it gets warmer as we make our way through to Tuesday at noon. You can see we're into those deep, deep red hues. And then we kind of cool down a little bit by the middle of the week into Thursday. And you'll get a better look at that as we look at the 7-day forecast. Take a look at that. Monday, Tuesday, all the way up to 35 degrees. That's not factoring in the humidex. It'll be feeling like 44. And then we cool down just slightly by Thursday down to 28 degrees. And you even notice those overnight lows. We get back into that uncomfortable, sticky territory. Feeling, 22 degrees on Tuesday. That's not great. And then a chance of showers as normal throughout the entire week when we have those hot temperatures. Well, in other news, health officials in southern Ontario are warning of a surging tick population this summer.
CTV's Heather Senerin has more on how you can best protect yourself.
This is how experts check for ticks, by dragging a white cloth through fields. In the Wellington-Dufferin-Guelph area, the findings are significant.
Last year, we did 11 sites and we only found 18 ticks. This year, we did 2 sites and found almost 170 ticks. So that's a huge difference.
The medical officer of health says up to 55% of those ticks can cause Lyme disease.
If you haven't had a tick on you, I can guarantee you that either you or somebody that you know is going to get a tick on you soon, because that's how prevalent they are.
In Waterloo Region, Public Health have identified black-legged ticks that tested positive for the bacteria that causes Lyme disease.
We have 2 probable and 6 confirmed Lyme disease cases in humans in the region, and 4 of these cases in humans were locally acquired.
Symptoms for Lyme disease appear between 3 days to 1 month after being bitten.
Symptoms include fever, headache, muscle and joint pain, chills, swollen lymph nodes, and also a bullseye rash or a circular rash.
There's 2 tick seasons, early spring and early fall. The spring ticks are smaller, about the size of a poppy seed, but as the seasons change, they grow. The same happens if they latch onto you.
As it feeds on you, it actually gets bigger with the blood that it manages to suck into itself, so it gets to be like a little balloon.
Removing the tick from your body is key.
You need to use fine pointed tweezers to grab the tick head and mouth as close to the skin as possible, and you need to pull very slowly and not twisting or rotating it to try and not damage the tick.
Place the tick in a small sealed bag or container, wash the area with soap and water, and submit a photo online so it can be identified. To reduce your risk, stay on trails, wear protective clothing, and wear insect repellent with DEET. When in doubt outdoors, always check for ticks.
And check places that you might not think to look, like behind your knees, your groin, your armpits, and even in your hairline. So this is really important for children.
An infected tick must be attached to you for at least 24 hours to transmit Lyme disease. Heather Senerin, CTV News, Waterloo.
Peel Public Health is warning of a potential measles exposure at Pearson Airport this week. Officials say a person infected with measles was on 2 flights on July 7th. Flight BG305 from Bangladesh to Toronto via Rome, and flight AC 1986 from Toronto to Moncton. Travelers also could have been exposed in terminals 1 and 3 on the same day from 1:11 p.m. to 11:45 p.m. Peel Public Health is asking people who may have been exposed to monitor for symptoms.
Kia is recalling nearly 500,000 Telluride SUVs, 20,000 of them in Canada, after several fires were reported. Certain models between 2020 and 2024 are affected, as the front power seat motor can overheat due to a stuck slide knob and catch fire. Owners are being advised to park their vehicles outside and away from buildings. Kia's North American Safety Office has identified 18 incidents of seat fires or melting seat motors, but no injuries have been reported. Owners will be notified by mail next month. Dealers will install an electric fuse assembly on all affected vehicles for free.
You hitting the same. Still ahead, what's better than 1 hole-in-one? How about 2 on the same hole? We'll introduce you to a pair of friends who had a great day in Cambridge and on the course when we come back. Welcome back. The Blue Jays opened up their final series before the All-Star break with a stop in San Diego last night.
Going back, Sheets still tracking back. Sheets has run out of room. A 3-run homer.
That blast from Kazuma Okamoto in the 5th inning, powering the Blue Jays to a 5-3 win. That's his 22nd home run of the season. The Jays now have won 3 straight games. They'll look for another win tonight. First pitch is set for 8:40 local time.
On the pitch, AFC Toronto were going for their 3rd straight win, hosting Ottawa Rapid FC.
Small pushing forward. Hunter to Rowe, and it's an early goal.
Yeah, Toronto didn't waste any time getting on the board in this one. Lauren Rowe scoring less than 2 minutes in to take the 1-0 lead. Ottawa would tie things up about 10 minutes later. Toronto played much of the second half with only 10 players after getting a red card. And that's when Ottawa took advantage, scoring in the 88th minute and going on to win 2-1. Toronto returns to action next Saturday against the Vancouver Rise.
And we'll soon know the semifinal matchups at the FIFA World Cup, with the two last quarterfinals being played today. England and Norway are currently in action in Miami. The game currently tied at 1 goal apiece in the second half. And at 9 p.m., defending World Cup champions Argentina will take on Switzerland. The winners of these games will meet on Wednesday, while Spain will take on France in the other semifinal on Tuesday. And while there are those canceled trips on GO Transit to be aware of this evening, the TTC is set to run additional late-night service on the subway. It'll run past its normal 1:30 a.m. approximate end time to accommodate watch parties and other events around the city.
All right, I'm very envious of this next story. Two longtime golfers had a very good day on the greens in Cambridge earlier this week.
And I'm also suspicious. Both of them hitting a hole-in-one on the same hole. CTV's Jeff Pickrell has the story.
I stood up here, and the pin was right in the center of the green, and I loved it.
For Trevor Fackrell and Sean Brown, their foursome was doing pretty well on Friday, June 26th.
So our group was running along pretty nicely that day, and we were ready to take it to the finish.
And we sure did.
Yes.
Teeing off in the 14th at Galt Country Club, a 165-yard par 3 on that day.
It was perfect 8-iron distance because it was slightly downwind and downhill. So I hit an 8-iron and flushed it, hit it pure, and it landed, took one hop, and went in the hole.
Fackrell, a 30-year pro at Burlington Golf and Country Club, just rolled in his 6th ever hole-in-one. But when Sean Brown stepped up a moment later,
our ball marks were 9 inches apart, and his did exactly the same thing. Hit, did a little spin, and just rolled into the hole. It was incredible. And then we went.
And then it got a little fiery after that one. Old guy celebration.
Yeah. You don't have a lot of fat on your body, because I think I may have cracked your ribs.
A 1 in 17 million shot, 2 holes in one in the same group on the same hole.
Our balls would have landed, like they were within a foot of each other, and they probably landed,
8 feet?
Maybe 8 feet short. It was one hop and then just sort of trickled in.
The chance to celebrate together and with their nearby competition, making the moment even sweeter.
And it was a great place, to be honest, to get a hole-in-one. You've got the people on 13, you've got us on 14T, 11th green, 15th tee, so it blew up in seconds. It didn't take long for the news to get around.
Despite a combined 70 years in golf, this was Fackrell and Brown's just second time playing together.
Sean and I have become closer because of all the things we've been going through.
With a robust celebration taking place back at the clubhouse, the only casualty of the day was a planned retirement dinner.
I kind of rained on my wife's parade a little bit because that was her last day of work. She retired on that Friday, so we were going to celebrate some dinner, and I threw a little monkey wrench into the plans and jumped on her parade a little.
Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Cambridge.
Looking to beat the heat this weekend and take in a movie indoors, our Andrea Kay sat down with film critic Richard Krause to get his take on some of the latest releases to hit the big screen.
I have known Canadian champion race walker and now world champion race walker Evan Dumphy for years, and his brother Adam works right here in this building at TSN. So when I heard that Richard Krause was going to be talking about the movie Race Walkers starring Stephen Amell, I was a little concerned that they were going to take the mickey out of my friend's sport. Richard, do they? Do you?
You have nothing to worry about here. This is a very respectful movie towards the sport. It's a very funny movie, but it uses race walking as the sort of mechanism to get the rest of the action in line. So like all good movies about sports, it's not exactly about the sport. It's about the underdog. It's about resilience. It's about coming together and creating something when nobody thought you could do it. And you've got this great story set in the world of race walking. If you don't know what that is, you've probably seen it. It's where you have people that swivel their hips, move their arms in a very sort of rigid way, and then walk heel to toe. And it's very difficult, and I'm tired just showing you that. But it is the basis of this movie. You have a former baseball star who just happens to have a natural ability as a race walker. He's spotted by a guy who was not taken seriously by the race walking community, and together they work together and try and break into the sport. And it works for a number of reasons. It works because Kevin Clayton and Phil Moniz, who are the two stars of the film, have such great chemistry together that they bring a lot of laughs, a lot of humor, but also a lot of heart to this. So Race Walkers, like all good sports movies, works on a number of different levels. So it's playing in theaters right now. It's a Canadian film. Get out there and see it. Support Canada's own, and have a laugh while you do it.
Okay, so many years ago, there was a movie called Hall Pass, and it was a comedy. It was very funny. And no, I don't have a hall pass, and neither does my husband. But there's a new movie called Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass, which I guess is like a hall pass, but it's going one step further. And it stars Zoe Deutsch, who, of course, is in Voicemails for Isabel, and she's a voice in Minions and Monsters. So I'm loving this woman right now. Will I love her in this?
You might. She's having quite a month. There's a lot of Zoe Deutsch in the world right now. And I don't have a hall pass because I'm not foolish. Unlike the husband in this movie, who they talk, they joke. It's their, the hall pass. It's that thing that you say, oh, if you met so-and-so, it would be okay. That's my hall pass. So it's usually a celebrity. In this case, he meets his hall pass and has a one-night stand and then sends Zoe Deutsch's character off in search of her hall pass, who is John Hamm. Okay. He's in Hollywood, so she leaves Kansas. That's an important detail. Goes to Hollywood and follows kind of a yellow brick road down the path to find him. Along the way, she collects a number of people that have some very recognizable traits, like an agent who's looking for courage, like a paparazzi who's looking for a brain. Yeah, it goes on. And one of the people she meets, and this is kind of hilarious, is John Slattery, who was John Hamm's former co-star on Mad Men. He plays himself as a down-and-out actor, and he says, John Hamm won't text me back, so of course I'll try and help you find him, because I have things I want to say to him. And so this movie is very heightened, and you'll either love the tone of it, or you'll find it a bit annoying. I was somewhere kind of in the middle on it, but Zoe Deutsch, she brings a lot of charm to whatever she's in, and I like seeing John Slattery having a bit of fun with himself. So the movie is called Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass, and it's in theaters right now.
Okay, Richard Krause. Tonight at 11:30, we're going to talk about what's on the small screen. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Richard Krause, film critic. See you at 11:30.
See you then.
Coming up, a BC diver takes the plunge to help tourists recover lost phones and memories. We have the story after the break.
For most people, dropping your phone in the ocean would mean it's gone for good.
But one North Vancouver man is on a mission to help reunite tourists with their lost phones. CTV's Isabella Zavarisi has the story.
Diver Henry Wang is on a mission to find a prized possession most of us have glued to our hands.
I'll go out, do a single dive, and I'll pull out like 10 phones, just on one dive.
On a dive earlier this week in False Creek, Wang scoured the ocean floor for a tourist's phone.
They came here for the World Cup, and then they did a road trip all the way to Banff and back, enjoying our beautiful country. And of course, all of the photos were on that phone.
He eventually found it, still working.
We were taking some pictures last night over there and just slipped out of our hands.
It's an iPhone 16 Pro Max, so it's not cheap, right? But it's the memories always.
Wang has recovered hundreds of phones over a decade of diving.
So these are some of the phones that I found.
He's often called after people drop their devices at spots like this one at Lonsdale Quay. Despite the warning signs, the slats in these benches make for an easy escape. Another place he's often called to, Science World.
They drop so many phones, people getting in and out of dragon boats and the rental paddle crafts, right? My phone number is just on the wall.
Wang charges $100 for the recoveries. Sometimes he does it for free during his ocean floor cleanups where he picks up trash.
And I'll just look, the next time I run into it, I'll just remember and I'll just get it back to you.
One recovery Wang won't forget. He found a phone for a couple who had thousands of baby photos they hadn't backed up.
He had his new phone in a lanyard on a pouch fully secured to his neck, right? He was not letting, he didn't care what he looked like, didn't care that it looked dorky. He just wanted the phone to survive.
As we head into what he calls cell phone recovery season, he has one reminder.
If you're near water, hang on to your stuff.
Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, North Vancouver.
That's one of my biggest fears, I tell you. Let's take one more look at the weather before we go, and it's shaping up to be a beautiful evening. Temperatures right now, 26 degrees in the city of Toronto, feeling like 31. Tomorrow at a glance, plenty of sunshine. The UV index will be at an 8. That translates to very high, which means lather on that sunscreen, get hydration breaks, and of course, wear a hat. Here's your 7-day forecast, and we only get warmer throughout the week. By Tuesday, it'll be feeling like 44 with that humidex. Even those overnight lows, just 22 degrees. Potential for some showers on Wednesday or Thursday, but it's going to be a hot week throughout. No question about that. Sean.
Well, that does it for us tonight. Be sure to join us tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching. Have a good night, and we'll see you at 11:30.
See ya.